In 1300 a new age began in Western Europe. Europeans called it the Renaissance, which means rebirth. After years of war and plague, the Renaissance began in Italy. Then, it spread through the rest of Europe. Lasting until 1600s, it was a time of creativity, invention, and education. The new ideas of the Renaissance had an effect on art, literature, and politics. During the Renaissance, people took a new interest in ancient Rome and Greece. Scholars paid attention to classical culture and worldly subjects instead of religious issues. These scholars, called humanists, studied subjects taught in ancient Greek and Roman schools. They learned about grammar, poetry, literature, drama, philosophy, and history. Individual ability became important. People looked up to those who were well-rounded and could do well in many areas. For example, a famous painter Leonardo da Vinci was also a sculptor, architect, inventor, and mathematician. He is best known for his paintings, the Mona Lisa and the Last Supper. But he also made sketches for inventions like submarines and flying machines and studied the human body. In addition to da Vinci, the Renaissance produced famous painters and sculptors like Michelangelo and Raphael. Famous works of literature were written during the Renaissance. Geoffrey Chaucer wrote the Canterbury Tales and the Spanish writer Miguel de Cervantes wrote Don Quixote. One of the most important writers of the Renaissance was William Shakespeare, the English poet and playwright. He wrote 37 plays between 1590 and 1613, including Othello, Romeo and Juliet, and Hamlet. In politics, Niccolò Machiavelli wrote one of the most influential works on political power, The Prince. Unlike the political writers before him, Machiavelli talked about reality instead of the ideal. Machiavelli's ideas influenced political leaders for many years. The development of the printing press in Europe made producing books much easier. Before the printing press, books were difficult to make. Because they were expensive, most people could not afford to buy them. Now, books were more available. Printed books allowed Europeans to be exposed to new ideas of the Renaissance. As the Renaissance spread through Europe, the Western world enjoyed a golden age. Now let us review some important facts. First, where did the Renaissance begin? If you said Italy, you were correct. Who is one of the most important writers of the Renaissance that wrote Romeo and Juliet? That will be Shakespeare. Share some facts about books before the printing press with movable type for books were invented. Some of the things you might say are that books were expensive and difficult to make. An important fact to remember about the Renaissance is that it means rebirth. The people of the lands were tired of suffering. They had suffered wars and the plague. The people wore plain and rough clothing. They are plain food. Art and literature was frowned upon by the church. They were taught by the church that it was their duty to suffer and that happiness waited for them in heaven. An important fact to take away from the Renaissance is the definition of humanism. Many people began believing in humanism as focusing on the people's potential. Humanism suggested that a person might enjoy life without offending God. People began dancing, listening to music, creating art and writing great books and poetry. Look on the whiteboard, you will see vocabulary words and events with definitions. These words will be your flashcard vocabulary. Be sure to complete the flashcards as it will help you on your quiz, homework, and warm-ups. Thank you for listening to Ms. Wooten's lesson. It is true that this lesson is actually scripted by Ms. Wooten, but this is all me. Goodbye.